I'm hoping that Dennis will join us here in a bit. I've got a text message over to him. Hopefully he will catch up with us. I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order because I believe I have enough for a quorum. Okay, Vice Chairman Brendan Riley is here. Donna Morris is here. Tim Blakely is here. Lisa Sanchez is here. Shanine McArdle is here. And we're just waiting on Dennis. And in front of the whole council, I'm glad that you're with us online here, Shanine. We're glad to have you with us and stuff, and have your participation.
Thank you. I'm glad to participate and be back.
Okay. Need to adopt, excuse me. I should have called the meeting to order, and the meeting is 7:10. And 16 attendees at this point. Let's go ahead and do the flag salute. Okay, we ready? I pledge
allegiance to the
flag
of the United States
of
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty and
justice for all.
justice for all.
Okay. So have the directors had an opportunity to look at the agenda? Did we find it to be acceptable?
Yes.
We have a motion to adopt the agenda.
A motion.
I'll second.
Brendan second, and who was the one who made the motion?
Tim.
Tim, okay. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes for the February 18, 2021 meeting. I want to apologize. I had my immunization, my second immunization on Monday, and I have been out of sorts until today. I was even surprised I was able to make it up to Mojave, as a matter of fact, to see you yesterday, Laura. I actually felt good at that little window, but then when I got home, I felt bad, and then my wife got sick, so
oh no,
it was really a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, I'm glad you had a little window where we could meet real quick. That was great. Thank you for meeting halfway.
All righty. Anyway, let's go ahead and move into approval of the minutes. I asked a couple of directors to take a look at the video presentation for the minutes, and then we'll follow it up with a hard copy when I get a chance. Anyone willing to make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes that they viewed?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay. I think what we're going to do, Laura, pending your concurrence, I think we're going to go ahead and move right directly to the guest speaker.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay. That way, it'll give Dennis a little bit of time to perhaps catch up with us. Okay, Cynthia, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here this evening. Thank you very much for inviting me. With COVID, I haven't had an opportunity to visit very often in East Kern, and It's great to have a chance tonight to see you. For those that don't know me, I've been a prosecutor at the Kern County DA's office for 36 years. And in 2018, I ran for election to be the district attorney. I was elected in June of 2018, and I took office in 2019 in January. And so I've been in office 2 years. I'm halfway through my 4-year term. And I think I've had some successes, or my office has had some successes, and we've really had some challenges as well as things begin to change in our world more and more in a different direction with regard to public safety. I had some priorities when I came into office. The first was to reduce violent crime. And in 2019, we had a newly formulated homicide unit at the DA's office. We tried more homicides than we ever had before. We got more first-degree murder convictions than we ever had before. And in 2019, it was the first time that in over 5 years that homicides went down. It's countywide. Homicides went down because we find a lot of our homicides are done by recidivists or gang members who, once they kill, they will kill again. So we were extremely happy because we do have, Kern County has the dubious distinction of having the highest homicide rate per capita in the state of California, which in 2018, I believe, was 11.1 homicides per 100,000. And so that's really high. It's higher than Los Angeles. And so we were able to bring that homicide rate down, or it came down. We hope we had a part of that. And then the pandemic hit. In 2020, the pandemic has had a really negative effect on public safety in so many ways and for so many reasons. It can go over those reasons of what we think, but, kids aren't in school. The governor released nearly 30,000 inmates. Law enforcement was hit with COVID themselves, and they weren't out doing proactive policing. People, were pent up and, different things. So we had a lot of homicides in 2020. Just to give you some examples about Rosamond, in 2018, there were 2 homicides in the Rosamond area. In 2019, there were 0. Wonderful. And 2020, there were 4. So that's, for your size of community, that's a double increased in 2 years. And in 2021, in the first 2 months of January, February, we've already had 2. So that's a concern. But we are going to continue to concentrate on violent crime, specifically violent crime, meaning homicides and sex crimes. We've been able to do a lot because we have aggressive prosecutors, we have a progressive crime lab, and we've gotten some difficult convictions in major cases. There was a case that I think that I've talked to many of you about that I was fortunate enough to do. It was a cold case homicide that I got a first-degree murder conviction on in 2019, and that was the lady that was killed in 2001 at the McDonald's in Rosamond by 2 LA gang members. So that was a good result, and very pleased about what happened in that case. We have some other cases that are pending in court right now, high-profile cases from Rosamond. There is the Bennett case that happened just January 7th of 2021, where there was a kidnapping case. The Danielian case that happened in October of 20. It was the murder in Rosamond. That case was solved because of door ring cameras. You have no idea how technology and videotaping is helping us solve crimes. With videotape proprietary video in stores, and also people's ring cameras have just really been tremendous, and we use those in court. We were able to solve it that way. The Perez case, we got a first-degree murder conviction for the murder of Kyle Ramirez, and that was a Rosamond case, and the defendant was sentenced to 25 years to life. And there was a case that there actually was a murder case that we were not successful. That was a Rosamond case. That was an acquittal in which a woman named Lila Rosima was prosecuted for the murder of her husband. And she was acquitted in 2020. And it was a kind of a complicated case where the doctors first ruled it a homicide. And then later on, the husband admitted to the killing, but then he claimed it was a false confession. So that was kind of a disappointing but kind of an interesting case with a lot of twists and turns. We also have formed a crimes against peace officer unit. Officer-involved shootings in this country are going down, but what's going up is crimes against peace officers. So we have formed a crimes against peace officer unit, and we prosecute those cases. We never had a unit before like that. I made a commitment that I would beef up the staffing in our regional courts, and I have done that in Mojave and Ridgecrest, and I'm very proud of that, and we're having a lot better results. We send qualified prosecutors out to those areas. I hired someone specially that had nearly 30 years experience for Mojave, where your Rosamond cases go. His name's Greg Kohler, and he loves his job, and law enforcement is very happy with him. And then I'm also trying very hard to inform the public of the good work of our office, the good work of law enforcement. And we do that, and I hope it gets out to East Kern, but we do a lot of press releases. I do a lot of interviews. We have Facebook, social media. We have now a public information officer that we never had before, because we're really trying to be transparent, excuse me, of the work we do. A lot of people don't even know what a DA is. Excuse me. They always think that we're defense attorneys, and they talk to us about getting the guy off. And it's like, no, that's not what we do. We are advocates for victims, and we seek justice for victims of crime and for the community. So we also I changed the way we do the use of force review. And we've had 14 use of force, meaning when law enforcement officers shoot or use force against someone and it results in great bodily injury or death. And that's been an issue that's been the subject of great debate in recent years. And also it probably cost the DA her job in Los Angeles County. And I'm going to talk to you about that. But we had a lot of officer-involved shootings in Kern County this year, many of them in East Kern, many of them. And so what happens is the law enforcement will do an investigation of those cases, and then they come to me for review to determine whether the officer acted under the law. And if he didn't, then we can charge criminal charges on that. But we have a very good staff that we have sent people to the best schools in the country in order to make sure that we look at the cases fairly and do them quickly, because when an officer shoots someone and kills them, they go off work, and it's very, very stressful for them. So we try to look at the case thoroughly, independently, and to make sure that the community has confidence in what we do. We had some challenges this year. I didn't hear of many cases in Rosamond that were facing this, but the summer of civil unrest, shall we call it, starting with the George Floyd case in June or the end of May back in Minnesota, and then some of the protests that we had and groups that came out of that. They've been quite active in Bakersfield. In some, I think there were some protests of the major group was Black Lives Matter up in Tehachapi. And so there were 51 prosecutions that came out of the summer and then continuing until the time of the November election. A lot of conflict between groups, a lot of attacks on police officers, some attacks on the protesters themselves by other citizens. So that is a challenge. Some of those cases have settled, and then we're moving through the criminal justice system. A lot of politicians, a lot of DAs, shall we say, throughout the country really kind of tried to weigh in on the George Floyd case. I didn't, because I don't know all the facts and render opinions. And we did try to get blackmailed by, I have to call it blackmailed, by a civil attorney out of Oakland. We had a situation in Bakersfield where a protester was run over by someone that was driving a car, but the protester apparently was on drugs and stepped out, not in a crosswalk and so forth. It looked like it was an accident. But Black Lives Matter was involved, Antifa, that type groups, and an attorney from Oakland called me and said that if I didn't file charges against that driver, that he would come down here with his party and basically burn our city. So we were threatened. Our receptionists were threatened by callers. It was really a difficult time. Our employees were afraid. We had to evacuate our building every day, an hour or two ahead of time. If there was a planned protest, we had to be escorted to our cars. There were gunmen on our roof. The sheriff's department took really good care of us. But that was a trying time. And I want you to know that I did not buckle to any of it. I wrote an op-ed piece about the man that tried to blackmail us from Oakland and threaten us, and we had to do what was right. We looked at each case independently and followed the law, and never weighed in on some of these cases if it's not something that didn't have to do with Kern County. I do believe there is a battle right now for the criminal justice system, and it is waging war right to the south of us. There is a man named George Gascon who was elected in Los Angeles County because of his anti-police position, and specifically by saying he thinks that there should be further what they call criminal justice reform. And on the day that he was sworn in, which was December 7th of 2020, he put out many directives. And I couldn't be more the opposite in my views than George Gascon, and it causes me grave concern because Kern County borders Los Angeles County, and some of the things that he is doing will affect Kern County, and it will endanger.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's see if John can catch up with us. I'll go ahead and give the floor back to you, Cynthia.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for hanging on to hear the rest of my discussion. Well, I guess you have a meeting to do as well. But we were talking before my not so friendly friend joined me that George Gascon is one of 4 progressive district attorneys elected in California. And it's happening throughout the United States, but basically it is a defund the police movement, a decriminalization movement, seeking, well, let's just say what Mr. Gascon's directives were. We call them rogue prosecutors, not progressive ones, because we think, I think I am in particular progressive, that we look for new ways to handle very old problems. Crime, violence, drug abuse, same problems, but we try to look at different ways to handle them. But Mr. Gascon just wants to let people out of prison. He won't prosecute anyone for the death penalty. He won't prosecute anybody in which their term for murder could be life in prison without the possibility of parole. He's attempting to call back all of Los Angeles County convictions on death row. He doesn't want anyone to get, regardless of what they do, any longer than 15 years in prison. And he's refusing to file a lot of cases, quality of life cases, and he's also allowing zero bail. That means you can commit a felony like car theft or many cases, types of crimes, and just basically get a ticket, even on felonies. This will have an effect on us in Kern County because of our proximity. There is no crime wall at our border. Criminals go in and out of counties. And so there's going to be a recall effort of Mr. Gascon. All of us at the California District Attorneys Association are very outspoken in these efforts. I don't know if you ever saw the Netflix show, The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez, the show about the young boy in Lancaster that was murdered and tortured. Some of the prosecutors that were involved in that case are involved in trying to get the recall for Gascon, and I will be involved in that as well. So we are concerned. I'd like you to be particularly careful when you're out on I-14, 14, the freeway that goes right through your town. 14, that's what I thought. I had a lapse there for a moment, because there have been a lot of high-speed pursuits by Angelenos on 14 and I-5 that the CHP has been involved in the last 3 months, because the consensus is, well, they catch us, and if they catch us in LA County, they're just going to let us out. So that endangers and puts the life in dangers of people in Kern County because the pursuits very often start or end in Kern County. So that's a concern. Let's see. Trends in East Kern, particularly crime trends. There has been an increase in crime in Rosamond, not like Los Angeles County, but a little bit during the pandemic. We have seen throughout Kern County, as well as Rosamond, a lot of increase in thefts, but we're seeing a lot of more marijuana fields, outdoor grows in and around Rosamond, which I would have never thought because of the weather, but evidently if you have water, it's enough. And those can be very dangerous if you stumble upon them because marijuana is worth a lot of money now. I thought you might want to know about pot shops and what's going on with the pot shops. About a year ago, the Sheriff's Department, and I think you may have a deputy on here tonight if he came back, Wes Craft, may it be on here? I'm not sure.
Yes, ma'am, I am here.
Hi, how you doing, Wes?
Hello, I'm very well.
Good. The Sheriff's Department really does a very good job with those pot shops, and Wes might be able to talk to you better than I did, but I can. But about a year ago, they hit 9 shops, I believe. 9 shops, or 9 hits, 7 locations, and when they do that, it's very it takes a bite out of the business. It's hard to shut them down, but they can take the marijuana, they can take all the money. If there are guns in there, they can seize those. They can arrest the employee. But the problem is if they own the building or have access to the building and they have product, they can be back in business the next day. So the HIDTA, the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Task Force, HIDTA, is back in business. Things went, we had to do things differently during the pandemic. We couldn't do some things proactive like execute search warrants at pot shops. And I say we, I mean the Sheriff's Department. I'm talking about law enforcement in general. But they're back and they are really active. So I hope that we'll be able to do some enforcement in some East Kern, specifically Rosamond, marijuana dispensaries in the coming weeks. Let's see. I had some other information of some cases that I'm going to talk about, but other than that, I think that's it. Just know that it's difficult to prosecute crime because of the California legislature. We have basically a one-party system now in Sacramento. They could pass anything they want and the governor can sign it. We've had a lot of dilution of laws that have prohibited us from law enforcement in doing the job that we can do to protect the public. We were hoping Proposition 20 would pass on the ballot, which would beef up theft crime a little bit, that we could do something with the repeat offenders, but that failed. And so there's a lot of money in this decriminalization anti-police effort. A lot of billionaires like George Soros are putting in a lot of money about that. And we just really have to stay firm. We have a very strong sheriff that cares deeply about public safety and is not impressed by billionaires and their big money. So I work very well with him, and we're doing the best that we can do. But we don't like a lot of the laws, but we have to follow the law. So that's my report on public safety, and specifically some little tidbits about Rosamond. And I don't know if you want me to answer questions or if you need to go on with your meeting, whatever you need to do.
Well, let me ask and see if there's anyone here that has a question for you. Donna, I know that you're concerned with the marijuana pot shops and stuff like that. Is there any question that you may have? Okay, she doesn't. Anyone else?
It's Lieutenant Kraft here. I wouldn't mind just chiming in here just to let you guys know. We have been in contact, and the DA is absolutely right. It is ramping up, and that's about as far as I can go with it. I have been meeting with the HIDTA Lieutenant Murillo, on a weekly basis, and they do have some things planned. Obviously can't speak about them. They're ongoing investigations, but they have not been forgotten about, and they will be out in full force soon.
All righty. Thank you, Lieutenant Kraft.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'd just like to thank the district attorney and Sergeant Kraft for all the support that you're giving us. We really appreciate that. Thank you for all the hard work.
Absolutely, much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for being supportive of law enforcement.
Okay. Well, with that, I know it's probably a busy day for you tomorrow. So if you want to tune out, we certainly understand and can accept that. So.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And I want you to know that I really enjoy coming to Rosamond. I've come out and met with quite a number of people, including John, your reporter, and you're a long way away from us. And sometimes you may feel like you're not a part of Kern County. I hope not, because we certainly do care about you, care about your safety, and are taking the East Kern Court, Mojave Court. Mojave's the busiest court, the busiest regional court that we have. And so we're taking that very seriously, and we're very, very proud of the efforts of the Sheriff's Department and our work in the Mojave Court.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Maybe we can bring you back in a couple of months and we can get another update from you.
Yeah, I've had my shots, so. Okay.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura Lynn. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm on my daughter's computer, so I'm going to try to figure out how to leave this meeting. So, okay.
Yeah, thank you again.
Thank you.
I may have to go. Elizabeth?
Okay, then let's
Elizabeth. Sorry.
all righty, let's go ahead and do a couple of community leader reports, because we don't. Brendan Roki from Assemblyman Tom Lackey's office called me and said he couldn't make it tonight. They've got some legislative work that they're doing up in Sacramento, and the California Highway Patrol is not here tonight, nor is the school district. So it looks like just Randy Scott, Jack Miller, and then we'll talk about a few other things, and then I think we'll get back to the 15th anniversary discussions and everything that we were having in the ceremony.
Don't forget Laura's here too.
All right. I hadn't forgotten. But Dennis did join us, so we will be able to stick that item back into the agenda. So, all righty. With that, Deputy Kraft, if you have anything for us, anything else?
I just had the only thing that I wanted to go over, since we already kind of spoke about the pot shops and everything, is there was another, for lack of a better term, limb found in that same area that we spoke about the last meeting. If you guys remember, we did find a couple body parts over there. There was another one found yesterday. I'm not sure if you guys, anyone saw the commotion, but there was another body part found out there. We still are believing it's only one person, but this is probably going to be ongoing, so we don't have every body part of this person. But it was located about 2 miles, I believe it was west of where the other stuff was found, but all in the same general vicinity. Our Sergeant Dorkin called out our search and rescue volunteers to come out, and they did a whole grid search for several miles, and they didn't find anything further, but that's what's located in there, and they will probably be back out just to exhaust every area out there. We still don't have the remains identified. We'll work with the DA's crime lab on possibly doing the rapid DNA stuff. So anyway, that's about the biggest highlight we have for the past month. Anything on that before I move on?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, we don't believe that there's, several people out there, several victims, things like that. I believe it's the same one. We're just going to have to thoroughly investigate that. As far as Rosamond calls for service, there wasn't a whole lot different. The calls for service were actually up a little bit from last month, but down overall from 2020. We had 11 arrests out there. Nothing real concerning. Couple drug arrests, a couple domestic violence, and a couple vehicle code things. That's all I have to report.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I do need to get a clarification. Are you a lieutenant or a sergeant?
I'm a lieutenant. I've been called a
Okay.
few different things this city, but
I just want to make sure I don't want to take and be calling you the wrong rank and everything. I'm 23 years in the United States Navy, and I was very fond of my rank when I retired.
it's much appreciated, sir.
All right.
But yes,
I
lieutenant.
apologize too.
The Hatch Team Mojave, Rosamond.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Okay.
Absolutely. You guys have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Jack Miller, I'll go ahead and turn the floor to you.
All right, 4 and many, no. Okay, updates. I'm just gonna go over the new items. You guys pretty much know from past, nothing's really changed on previous projects. But we did have a meeting this past week. New items to talk about is September Fest 2021. We are moving forward with planning that. You can clap, Dennis, if you like. And yep, there you go. Charlene Melchers has volunteered to coordinate the festival at the park. Myself and Joe Bender coordinating the Armed Forces Day Parade. Hopefully Dennis will be willing to MC for that, which he does an amazing job for. That's a thumbs up. And Tim, we could sure use your volunteer help coordinating the parade. Yen?
I'm in.
Appreciate that. And Tim does a great job, by the way. Him and his crew always has getting everybody lined up and coordinating all the vehicles in the morning. So we appreciate everything he does. I know we really haven't had an opportunity to tell him that in the past because he was kind of come and gone in the past. But now we can see his face. Say thank you for everything you've done in the past.
You're welcome.
Elections are coming up in May. Gene Melchers and Albert Gatton comes up. So we're going to be sending out notifications for anybody that wants to run for the board. Those will be going out shortly here. And then we'll be holding the elections in May. Probably won't be in person, or probably some sort of by mail or email vote, like a lot of the other organizations have done. And then membership. We voted this past meeting to go to annual memberships. The way the memberships were set up before, everybody had different due dates on the months and so forth, and it's just too much to constantly administer, especially during COVID. So we're going to a fiscal year dues on all membership. We're gonna have to figure out how to prorate some of the dues, but there'll be a notification going out in June, and then July 1st we'll be starting the new fiscal year cycle for chamber members, and then that way every year we can just send out all the reminders at the same time in June, So starting July 1st, we'll be going to a fiscal year membership. And I think that's about all I got to cover. Anybody have any questions? We haven't set a date yet on the September 5th parade, by the way. Leaving that up to Charlene.
That's usually the last or the fourth
Last year we
Saturday
did
of September.
Last year we did the fourth Saturday. One of the conflicts we always had was the Kern County Fair, which I don't know if that's even going to occur this year because of the allocation of the Sheriff's Department. But we'll probably stick with the fourth Saturday. I'm just saying probably because I'm kind of leaving all that up to Charlene to coordinate. And so once we have our first meeting in April, which will be April 21st, then we'll send out all the notifications, information on September 5th.
One of the difficulties with that time frame also has been that the folks have wanted a flyover, and the problem is it's at the end of the fiscal year.
All the
And,
budget up, yes. That's exactly
and
what last year.
that's also the same weekend as or historically has been the same weekend as the Society of Experimental Test Pilot Symposium down in Los Angeles. Most all of our pilots on the base are Society of Experimental Test Pilot members because they're test pilots. Funny how that works. So getting to someone to do a flyover then has been near impossible. And also the availability of senior leaders to be a grand marshal should someone want to do that, because it is the Armed Forces Appreciation Day. So appreciating our own armed forces is kind of important there. So the sooner that you can get a hold of the guy who replaced me, the guy who's currently replacing or in the job that I had, Danny Bazell, out there in the public affairs office, then the sooner you can get that on their calendar and get it submitted in. It doesn't necessarily have to be a rated pilot or even the general or wing commander. Could be a group commander, just someone to represent the base. But the sooner you get it on their calendar, the better it's going to be for everybody.
Yeah, last year we got approved for everything, and then Rex used up all the budget with the Lancaster Fair flyovers, and didn't have any budget left for anybody flyovers.
Yeah, so wouldn't worry about that. But if you do want base participation, the sooner you get in touch with them, the better off you are.
Yeah. As soon as we have our meeting in April, that's when all the notices will go out and requests and letters and everything about that week.
Okay, if nothing else for Jack, we'll go ahead and go to Randy Scott.
Okay, as far as rainfall, precipitation overall, the last storm gave us a little bit more, as you can well imagine, but we're about half the overall long-term yearly average. We're almost exactly in all three measuring areas in the state, almost exactly on last year's rainfall as far as so far. So there's really no talk yet of any kind of drastic measures or anything like that. May not be. Reservoir wise throughout the state, it really varies. Anywhere from half the historical average to over 100%. The one that's that we get water out of through the aqueduct north of us, San Luis Reservoir, is at 63% of its historical average. So that's not too bad. Snowpack throughout the state, overall average is 61% normal for this date. About 60% of the overall April 1st average. So it's not great, but it's not terrible. And they are predicting some storms tonight and tomorrow in Northern California, both rain and some snow. And I haven't looked on lately to see if that's actually occurred yet or not, but we're talking a bit about that. Not a huge storm, but a bit. And That's about it. Oh, I guess one more thing. You may have read that. Shoot, his name escapes me now. Justin Lane, who was unfortunately killed in early January in an auto accident, was on the AVIC board, and so they brought back. Well, they did a number of interviews and everything like that, and they brought back his dad, who had served, I don't know, something on the order, I can't remember exactly, 30 some odd years on the AVIC board. So he will at least finish out that term. George Lane, I'm sorry, I couldn't think of his name off the top of my head. And unless there's any questions, that's all I've got.
All righty, thank you, Randy. Does anyone have any questions for Randy? If not, in keeping with trying to be flexible tonight, I'm going to roll right back up and we're going to do our observation of the 15th anniversary of the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council. I waxed poetic over the days that I was feeling kind of ill and everything, and wrote a whole bunch of stuff. And so I'm going to throw most of that away and just speak off the cuff. The big thing is Rosamond is a little community. It started out in the early 1800s. It was known as Sand Creek, and it has evolved over time. At one time, before it became Rosamond, it had about 100 people in population. And so it has grown a little bit by every year. The factors involved, at one time we were a stop for the stagecoach that stopped in Willow Springs, stuff like that. We had the railroad come through, and that caused some growth. We started experiencing farming here, which gave some competition to the ranchers. We also had mining kick off and everything, and that was, I believe, in the 1870s, and basically kind of died out in the early 1930s, I believe, when Roosevelt did something with the gold standard. The thing is as of World War II, our lifeblood has been Edwards Air Force Base and other little military facilities that were in the area here at that time. And so our destinies are kind of linked together, especially with Edwards Air Force Base. And a lot of growth came as a result of that. And then when we got the 14 freeway, that was when we had our biggest growth happen. We essentially now became a bedroom community for Los Angeles and everything. And so in addition to the thousands of people that worked in and around here in Rosamond and worked on Edwards Air Force Base, we started having people commute. And I happened to do that for a few years myself. Since 1991 to up till 2010, I was doing that daily grind every day. And you cannot tell it by looking at me, but I'm only 39 years old. So it wore me out. Okay, with that, I want to just kind of touch on.
He was there when the place was known as Sand Creek.
Okay, as we move along here, okay, and a lot of folks consider the Rosamond Community Services District as kind of the closest thing that we have to a municipal and local government. And, that was kind of there. And then the Rosamond Landowners Association came about. And a gentleman that was with them, Ed Cole, was there. And I think somewhere along in that process, it evolved and became the Rosamond Town Council. And the one thing with both the Landowners Association and the old Rosamond Town Council, they were both more social organizations than they were civic. They didn't really have any real connection with Bakersfield or any really pull, you could say. So as a step toward becoming self-sufficient here, the town council implemented a program and started up an honorary mayor thing here, and D. Ewing was the first mayor. And the organization still kind of stayed as a more a social event, but that changed in June 2005 when Dennis Schaffner and others met with Supervisor Don Mabin. And I want to inject right here at this point, it's really a shame that Don Mabin is no longer with us. It would have been nice to have had him here tonight to get his insight. Both Dennis and I have history with Don Mabin. I think both of us, if you were to sit us down and want to have a beer and talk about Don Mabin and what he means to Rosamond, we could probably fill up a couple hours. So we don't unfortunately have him. He passed in 2017. Anyway, moving on, when Don met with Dennis Schaffner and a couple of others from the town council, they began the process of studying this and how to make the town council more responsive or more helpful to the Board of Supervisors, as well as helping the community of Rosamond in their communications with the Board of Supervisors. The first meeting of the Rosamond Town Council as a municipal advisor group was held in March of 2006. However, it was now reorganized under a state law that allowed the county supervisors to create citizen panels and stuff like that. And so the biggest change at that point for the Rosamond Town Council was that its members became electable. They had to run for office. And Dennis Schaffner noted at the time, we are looking forward to working with the county to help Rosamond be a better place to live and work. Besides Dennis Schaffner, the inaugural council officers were Jed Dyke, Terry Graham, and Willie Gilbert as financial officer. Some other members included Keith Dias, Bob Beachley, and Robert Shearer. Much of the credit for the bylaws goes to Tom Wardlaw. He made those up, and that he worked very tirelessly on that. The board also worked very closely with the Kern County Council to make sure that we were going to get off on the right foot. For those who dream of a day when Rosamond will become the Antelope Valley's fourth city, the message for now is to be patient and wait a little while longer. Now, I looked at research, and it basically the last time the county and LAFCO looked at Rosamond for incorporation and stuff like that was back in 2004. And I believe the population at that time was somewhere under 14,000. And there was a what-if study done by the Kern County Administrative Office, and it talked about all the things necessary in order to incorporate and stuff like that. And basically the bottom line is there was not enough tax base for us to be able to incorporate. And so we're kind of at the point now, here it is, 2021, 2004, that's 16 years ago. So it's would be curious to find out if we still fall short of the mark. I know that Olaf Landsgaard and Daniel Landsgaard both in 2004 were pushing for Rosamond to incorporate. And even Olaf noted at that time that that it needed a couple of more years of seasoning and growing in order to be able to get to the point of being a community, become a city. So another factor is developing a money stream or a process where we could begin raising money to do this. I think in that 2004 study, 2007 study, they indicated it would take about $250,000 in 2007 currency to be able to work this thing to push the incorporation through. So that's kind of where we stand. Don Mabin has passed. Olaf and Daniel Landsgaard have passed. We've had many very good directors on the council. And the one person that's kind of still the consistent factor here is Dennis Schaffner, who was the first RMAC chairman. And with that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Laura to talk about Dennis.
Thank you, Bill. Hi, Dennis. I'm going to talk about you, okay? So one thing I noticed is I was preparing with Bill to put this together, and I was down at the elections department at the county doing some research and helping with some things, and there Dennis's oath of office just kept appearing and reappearing and reappearing through the entire file. It was like every oaths of office, and there was Dennis's again. And Dennis, I think you'll think this is funny, but I did, there was a little mistake on your recent one where they spelled your name wrong. I actually found a couple of very old ones where they also put a C in your name. So I think it might just be whatever clerk happens to be filing the document, but we have it corrected for you now, and we're moving forward with no C. So on behalf of Supervisor Scrivener, I want to acknowledge you tonight. It takes a special person to devote this many years to your community. Sometimes it's a thankless job. It definitely isn't a paid position. You have to have the heart for service to hang in there this many years. So we're so proud of you, and we're honored that you work so hard for the community of Rosamond. And Supervisor Scrivener wanted to acknowledge you for that this evening. And so Bill has a plaque for you from the county and Supervisor Scrivener's office. Then he'll hold it up. I don't know if we can see it, but we have a plaque for you acknowledging your years of service. I just want to highlight a couple of big accomplishments that were brought to my attention. I've been working for Supervisor Scrivener for about 2.5 years now. So some of the work that Dennis did was fun for me to discover and really get a true feeling for the hard work and the accomplishments. You have a lot of feathers in your cap. And one of the biggest ones that stood out to me is working with the Board of Supervisors, the Health Department, the Palmdale Regional Medical Center, the LA County Health Department, and getting the urgent care to Rosamond. That is a need for any and all communities' healthcare. And so that really jumped out at me. I thought that that was something that definitely could not go unmentioned this evening. So again, Dennis, on behalf of Supervisor Scrivener, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do, and I hope you continue for many years to come.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I remember, it's kind of funny how all these things kind of intertwined. I was reminded recently that Don Maben invited me as to go to the Bakersfield Business Conference and to set up a table for Edwards Air Force Base in the main lobby there, the county building, while that was going on. And a lady came by and said, "Oh, I feel a special affinity to Edwards Air Force Base. My brother was Ed Murphy, the guy who came up with Murphy's Law." Now, the irony of this is our history office had no pictures of Ed Murphy. But because of this chance meeting, because of working with Don and being there, then we were able to find out that this lady was indeed Ed Murphy's sister. I worked with her husband. The lady's name was B. Barman. Her husband was Bernie Barman, who was the senior attorney for Kern County at the time. And he was the guy I worked with when we hammered out the final details for the charter for the RMAC many years ago. And since then, we've arranged for the museum curator and assistant curator to meet with them, and we finally now know what Ed Murphy looks like. The irony here and how all this intertwines is just phenomenal. I think all of us on the board, Lisa and Tim and Bill and everybody else, has in their core the desire to help make Roseland a better place to live and work. And if I'm just excited to be a part of it. When I joined the Roseland Town Council, I had to fill out an application, pay dues, and folks were coming to the meetings frustrated because they didn't know how Kern County government or any county government worked. They just and they really weren't all that concerned about it until it affected them directly. And so I thought we've got to do a better job of informing folks of what county government can do and what it is not doing, or it's not chartered to do, those kinds of things. So that was my initial goal, and so we've had a lot of very good programs. We've had I'll never forget Randy Scott at a meeting when we had the guy from AVEC giving us we invited him to talk about these injection wells that they were putting in, and but he gave us a history of a 2-hour butt-numbing history of water since the earth crust began to cool. That came to mind the night that we had LAFCO in to talk again about the possibility of incorporation. Brought out some of the weirdest folks I've ever seen anywhere, who were just dead set against it. So we've had some. Matter of fact, the congressman's rep even said, who was there that night, he said to my wife, who was also attending, he says, "Don't worry, I'll make sure you get out of here safely." I mean, it was that volatile. So we've had some really excellent programs, and it's very heartening to me that a lot of folks have put in that kind of time and effort to and are as concerned. So I appreciate the plaque and the honoring. I think the world of our supervisor, and I appreciate him saying thank you. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. Good to see you.
It's great to be back and to see you as well.
Okay. What I would like to do, and I'll see if there's a consensus on this, I would like to suspend the rest of the agenda for this meeting, but I need a motion and a vote. Anyone want to do that?
I'll motion it, Bill.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Let me make a note for myself here. Okay, we have a nomination and a second. All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.
Everybody.